So I'd gone up to go and buy a dog from Moss Side, and
what an opening line for the story.
Trauma can come from any angle. Do you know, even like you could be in another room, if they're shouting, you'll remember it. You might bypass it, but later on it comes back out. I was the only child he grabbed, and I was scared, but I was happy because it was me dad. So as I come out, I've grabbed the end of the gun and I've moved it to the side, and I'm holding this gun, and they're like, what you do? I said, what are you doing? And they go, give me everything you got. I said, I've got what you've got. You know, everything that I think about, everything I smell, I touch, I listen to, it's just my brother. And then, but my brother didn't realise that when he was going up to score his drugs, that they had a tip off that they were going to get robbed by a gang. And I'm driving, and then I just started screaming like just holding the steering wheel, and I'm shaking it, trying to pull the steering wheel off. And I'm driving down the motorway, I'm trying to pull a steering wheel off, you know. You know, I'd gone out, I lost my brother, and the night I lost my brother, I was still that same violent person, you know what I mean? But this time I wasn't going out just to smack someone up, I was going out to kill 4 people. 14 seconds of violence caused. 14 seconds of violence has caused so much trauma. It's unreal. She's literally smashed her whole house up, and she's screaming, "Oh, my baby." It's hard. Nah, this is passion, this is real, this is what I felt. There's no clout in any of this, you know, it's all about the message.
We're going to have a riot today, but it's got an important social message, and I urge you to go down, check out Paul Stansby's YouTube channel. I've been hooked, I've been watching his videos, and he comes at it from a different angle from people just coming in and telling the story arc of crime. He started out based on his own life experiences and his own redemption, interviewing victims of crime. So there's a lot of knife crime, there's gangs, there's stabbings, there's murders, but people get deep inside themselves and express their inner feelings concerning these things. And Paul has obviously addressed his own demons. Just earlier, he was talking about his life, the crime he was into, and now he's on this mission to get people on, to collaborate, to raise people up, create that positive energy, and help people by telling the stories. It's so therapeutical. And for him himself, when he first started filming himself talking to camera, he felt that therapeutic benefit, and he's sharing that now with others so they can get that same kind of mental health assistance, especially when they've been through these harrowing things. So all of Paul's links are in the description box below the video, and now we're going to get Paul to tell us his story. So huge thank you for coming on, man.
No, I really appreciate you having us on, guys. It's big things, you know, and I'm glad that, you know, you recognise my channel, and you know, you see the positive that I'm doing. And, you know, it's always good. Everyone always wants to fight and stuff on YouTube. And, I'm just so past all that, you know. And it's just, I want people to understand that, you know, we could work together really, really well, you know. And the message, especially like with my message of trying to just get people to, you know, start dealing with life again, you know. Like, it's true what you said. It is like therapy. You know, a lot of people who I do podcasts, they say, man, this weren't a podcast. This was like therapy. You know, and it's the same for me, because what they don't understand is when I'm giving it to them and I'm podcasting them and they're talking, it's actually helping me as well. And that's how I've managed to get through so long with losing my brother and starting all this from scratch, you know. You learn so much from your guests, don't you?
Oh,
Such
mate,
a variety of experiences.
Yeah. So whereabouts did you grow up?
Oh, mate, all over, and that ain't even no joke. I was born in London, born at West Middlesex Hospital, Hounslow, Feltham, all of that area, and then I come from quite a domestic childhood. My dad was pretty hands-on with my mum. I never witnessed it. I heard it. And you know yourself, with things that you do, trauma can come from any angle. Do you know, even like you could be in another room, if they're shouting, you'll remember it. You might bypass it, but later on it comes back out, you know, and that was like that for me. So we ended up moving. We got put into protective custody, so a women's refuge. So we were put in women's refuges where there's no men allowed in there whatsoever. It's just women, 387 women. I was the only boy in the women's refuge. There was literally full of girls.
Did you have siblings?
Yeah, girls. Yeah,
girls.
sisters. Yeah. So I've got two sisters with my mum and a brother, the one I lost. And then my dad moved on and had some more. And he's got two sons and a daughter.
Oh, wow. So you moved into women's refuge.
Yeah.
How long were you in there for?
Years. Yeah, years. We didn't really come out because the relationship was so violent that, and my dad was so persistent in finding us, my mum. I don't know whether it was because he wanted to see us, or I don't know whether it was because he wanted to get my mum again, you know. So every time that he'd find us, we'd move, and we was at a place for one day once, and he'd found us, and then we had to move again. In two weeks we was there at one other place. We moved again, and that's what it was like, you know. So
were you scared of him and missing him simultaneously?
It's really hard because I say I'm a mummy's boy, but the thing is, I've never really had a dad to be anything different. You understand? So, like, for me, I always wanted to know. I see other people with their dads, and I always wanted to know what it was like to be brought up by my dad. Meeting my dad later on in the years out of curiosity, because you know you want to know, you want to see. I see that probably being, if I'd have been brought up by my dad, I would have probably been working at Tesco. Not that there's nothing in it, but my ambitions would have been made for me. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite a controlling person. So, you know, if he worked at BT, son and my brothers, they work at BT. Do you know what I mean? So it was like I didn't want that for me.
Did it interfere with your school life?
Massively.
In what way?
Well, I went to, and I said this before, and I had comments come back going, yeah, you've been over 100 schools. Impossible. It's not. I've been to over 100 schools.
Wow.
Yeah. And I pretty much remember most of them, you know, but it was always the same feeling. So you can't forget the feeling, you know. You can't make no friends because you don't know if you're going to be there the next day, and you're always a new kid. Can you imagine being the new kid right away throughout most of your school life? Yeah, it's pretty horrible, you know. So but we was from a side of a family where we played with our siblings. Like, so if we wanted to go out, we all went out together. So we was never really alone, but we never really had friends, you know, because there weren't no point making any. Because as soon as you made someone, or someone say, oh, do you want to sleep over? And it's like, am I allowed? I'm not allowed, because in case my dad come down and found out I was sleeping there, and he's got a way of kidnapping us, you know. So we weren't allowed to do none of that stuff.
Did your dad try to kidnap you?
Yeah, this one time, I remember this one time we were standing at a bus stop, and my dad had spotted us, and he come out of nowhere, and I was the only child he grabbed, and I was like, I was scared, but I was happy, because it was me dad. So he goes, come here, he grabbed hold of me, and I give him a hug, thinking he was going to put me straight back down, but then he walked off with me.
What?
Yeah, he walked off with me, and I was like, he goes, you ain't getting him back. I'll come back for the others. And then he walked off. The police got me back, you know, but yeah, he just picked me up and walked off. That was terrorising, because I didn't think I was going to see my mum again. Because there's no way that he would have allowed me to see her, and my mum wouldn't have come to him in case she got hit again, you know. So
where did he take you?
He took me to his car and took me back to his house. Yeah. But he was taking me back to his house, but he got stopped on the way. Yeah.
So you probably couldn't plan for anything. Did you just like get used to living in the moment and just seeing what happened every day?
Yeah.
Has that stayed with you? That because it was for so many years.
And you know yourself, like I say, like I've had to learn to manage a lot of things, you know. And I used to think it was really big, and then I lost my brother, and nothing compared to having to try and manage that pain. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, everything bothered me before. And then when I lost him, everything that I ever remembered kind of got backmarked, you know, like it all got put away, you know, and everything that I think about, everything I smell, I touch, I listen to, it's just my brother, you know. And You know, it's like if I'd have lost him naturally, I still would miss him. But because he was taken, I can't explain to you unless you knew someone that's been murdered and taken from you. But it's just like 1 minute he was there, next minute he was gone, and I'll never see him again, you know. But he replaced my dad. He was like my dad. He taught me how to cook, how to clean, like shave, my little cat whiskers. Yeah. Obviously, I weren't very good at it, so I let it grow, you know. Yeah, I let it grow. Oh, he's not around to teach me anymore, so I've got to get this thing
That's
on the go.
a hell of a beard, gotta say.
I think, yeah.
How old were you then when your brother died?
I'm 21 now, so it was like no. That was 5 years ago. I'm 39 now, so it's 5 years ago.
Oh, it's 5 years ago. All right, let's go back then still. So,
this must have interfered with your education dramatically.
Moving
around. Yeah, I didn't really have. I have trouble like with reading and spelling and stuff. Whoever I was texting, I think I was texting you. If you see my texts, you're like, what the hell is the matter with this guy?
Are they that bad? You're saying nothing.
Like so everything's short. I'll put it down to short texting. That's what it is. Yeah. It's the iPhones you see.
So as you got older in school, then did you have a plan for the rest of your life?
Do you know what it is? Like when I was younger, so my mum met another guy and he was an horrible guy. Yeah, but my mum met a horrible guy to try and scare my dad to stop him from coming. But because I look exactly like my dad, I was enemy number one, you know? So like if my dad ever did come, I would get the brunt of it, or, you know, he'd just think that my mum was always looking at me and seeing him, you know. So I got a lot of torment on that one.
How so?
It used to be so bad. I used to wet the bed all the time, and you know, like if my mum was out, he used to be like, "Yeah, let's play wrestling," but he would literally like hammer me, you know, put my feet like up past my head until I couldn't breathe and pass out. And yeah, I used to literally, I was wetting the bed all the time. And then my punishment was, because he was a big football man, my punishment was I was grounded all the time. The only time I was allowed out is for him to put me in goal and kick footballs at me. Now he's 6'3", and he was a monster guy, and he had power ball. And you know, I'm like 6 years old up to 11 years old standing in this goal. I once had to go, he kicked the ball so hard at us that if I caught the ball, I took a day off my ground. But if I let a ball in, I put 2 days on my ground. Yeah, so he kicked the ball, and I really wanted to go out that weekend, and I caught the ball, and I literally like went flying backward. You know what you see in Hollywood when you explode and then you go through the wall or something? That's what I ended up getting concussion and going to hospital, and I had to tell him that I fell off my bike, otherwise he'd get me again.
Holy shit!
Yeah, so it's just things like that, you know.
And was your mum aware
No.
of the abuse?
No.
So you kept that hidden?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I had no choice, because if I did tell her, it would get worse when she was going out doing her little cleaning jobs and stuff, you know. So yeah, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth telling her. I told her afterwards, you know, but it just wasn't worth telling her whilst he was there.
I bet you couldn't wait to leave then, could you?
Do you know what it is? When I took so much that when he did actually leave and the police ejected him from the situation, because it was like he either goes or you go back into an institution again, like women's refuge, you know. And they are like mini prisons. You're not allowed to do anything. You share a kitchen, you share a bathroom, you know, everything's militant. It's you can't get away with anything, you know. And if you're noisy, you got to be told to be quiet. It wasn't a nice place, but it was nice, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't home where all the drama was happening all the time.
What were the other women like there at the refuge?
They loved me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was the only boy there, so really I was like Hugh Hefner, just, you know, so just without the X-rated stuff, you know. But they absolutely loved me because I had like blue eyes, really long hair. I haven't always been bald, you know, really long hair. You know what I mean?
I thought Shaun was born bald.
Born bald.
So are you.
It's all a wig. But no.
Yeah, so how did you emerge from that routine into becoming an adult then?
I felt like when my mum got rid of this guy, I then started seeing that I had to up the game because mum had no protection. She was a single woman. She was worried. At this time, I started finding my feet. You know, being able to scrap. I started fighting a lot, and you know, and everyone that I was going for was him. You know, he was the visualization whenever I was scrapping and just being thing. And I was scared, but I wasn't afraid. Do you know what I mean? It was like, that's really hard to explain. Like, if someone was to cry, I'd be like, even still today, like if someone was crying, it really unnerves me. Do you know? Like, I feel really like I don't know what to do. So I say something like, "Oh, don't cry. You look ugly when you cry," just so I can get the laughter back out of them. And it went wrong for me once, but
How so?
she went, "Everyone cries." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, cool." And she goes, "Sorry, I'm just Colombian. I'm really aggressive like that." I was like, "Yeah, no problem. Like, yeah, that's all right." And I was just sitting there. I didn't know what to do. I was just trying to make her laugh, you know. It worked in the end. She got it. She's a friend of ours now, so it's good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I thought after she punched me up, no.
So you were toughening up to have this protective role. Is that what?
Yeah, I think I was already quite tough with the stuff that he was doing to us. I was just too scared to put it into play in case I was challenged, you know what I mean? Because I'd never really had a fight or nothing. So right up until I had my first one, that's when I realised, hang on a minute, I can actually do this. And I've already taken beatings from like a 6 foot odd guy. So another kid my age is not going to be able to do what he done to me. So I was just, that was the start of it all, really.
Sorry, where was your brother at this point?
My brother was, he was a bit wavely, you see. He was like in and out of jail and stuff. And, you know, he also could have a little row. So he'd be in for, you know, fighting offences and driving offences and things like that. So, yeah, he had it way worse than me, I believe, because, like, even though my brother always put on a front of things, and this is what, like, I took a lot from him on this, even though that he'd put on a front and stuff in his eyes, and you can always, eyes tell the truth, right? I could always see, like, he was struggling. But it didn't matter because birthdays, Christmases, you know, like any occasions, he'll always be back no matter what, you know. He might disappear for like three months at a time and you wouldn't hear nothing. But if in that 3 months something was a matter, he'd be back instantly, you know. So he was like a free soul, but a trapped one. And that's how we call him, a misfit. Do you know what I mean? That's what he is, like a misfit. He never fitted in, but he was always liked wherever he was, always cracked jokes and stuff like that.
Did you ever have a period of time in your teens or childhood, should I say, or teens, where you felt settled?
Nah.
Never?
Nah. I've never ever been in a place where I thought to myself, I'm good now, you know, I feel good. And then this happened, and it took everything, every bit of strength that I'd built up to be able to get through my days, all went. Wow. And I had to figure out another way of being able to manage everything. And the podcast is what I had in place. But that took me 4 years in from losing him. I remember I went through court, and when someone gets murdered, it's not like, auntie's dead, you know, she had a little stroke or a heart attack or something, and then you can bury him a week later or 2 weeks later, I think it is. This was like, you had an autopsy, then you had like a death autopsy, a criminal autopsy, and then the police autopsy. So like, he's gone under 3 times. So I've got all this at the same time that from when I got it, my mum's on suicide watch. She's so drugged up now. She's like, she would be a drug dealer's best customer if she didn't get the stuff from the doctors, you know, because I lost my mum that night. That night she found out my mum died as well. That was it. She was gone. The woman that I've got now,
holy shit,
I call her mum, but I don't know who she is. And this is the trauma that I have really tried to get out there on the damage that's caused. Because I think if people could understand how much destruction is caused from crime, I think, and especially if they can feel it, I don't think they would commit crimes again, you know, because like my brother died that night, my mum died that night, my stepdad had a stroke the next day, he's not been right since, you know, my sister, she turned into an alcoholic, but I've got her on the straight now. Do you know what I mean? I've got her. She's doing well, but you know, families were destroyed. My brother's only daughter was pregnant, so she never even got to see her granddad. He never even got to see his granddaughter. Do you know? And it's just that he had a son of one. You know, and they say it takes three generations to be forgotten. You know, but if you're a dad and you've got a son of one, by the time he's 5, he would have forgotten your face, especially if the mum doesn't put that face in front of you. So you go from the 3 generations to maybe 4 or 5 years in a child's life.
Wow.
You've been replaced. And the only way he'd know that he had a dad is, my dad died when I was 1. He was killed. And that's it. This is what no one is putting out there. And there wasn't anything put in place for me to be able to manage it. They turn around and go, yeah, we can do you therapy and that lot. Well, for me, talking to somebody didn't settle for me because I was off key anyway, you know. So like, I didn't want you to trigger me and you're only doing your job. I don't want you to trigger me and then something happens that shouldn't have happened, you know. So I'm like, no, I'm good. I need to stay focused. I've got to watch my mum. She's like tempted to kill herself so many times, and it's just horrendous because you turn around and say to her, you go, Mum, what about us? But she's not thinking that because my brother was her firstborn. You know, it was her baby. She was young when she had him. I think she was 14 when she had him.
That is quite
young. Very young, you know. And she would sit there and say that was way too young. She would admit to it, but you imagine she was 14 when she had my brother, and she's 60, and so most of her life has been with her son. You know, it's not been anywhere without him.
What is the age gap between you two?
He was 41 when he dies. In 5 years, he's 46. I'm 39. So yeah. But with my others, I've got one sister that's like a year older than me, and then I've got another sister that's 3 years older than me than him. You know, so yeah.
What was your first brushes with the law?
Mine.
Yeah.
You love that question, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
True crime.
True crime. My first brushes with the law, I think it was shoplifting. Yeah, it was shoplifting. Well, I say it was shoplifting. We lived in a place called, so you know, Sudbury?
Sudbury.
Yeah.
What's that?
Next to Hadley.
Where's that?
So do you know Ipswich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 10 miles, just about 10 miles from there. It's like
near Ipswich.
countrified. Yeah, it's near Ipswich. And that we lived on top of shops. It was one of the houses we got put into to just temporary. It was like flats on top of shops. So it was called the Top Shops. And they would used to deliver cakes every morning out the back, and my mum, we never had a lot, and I'd be like, I'm going to go and nick everyone a cake, you know. So their lorry would pull in, they'd leave the cakes on the trays, and I'd pick a tray up and run off with it, you know.
I used to do that.
Yeah. And the only reason why I got caught is because my sister, Jasmine, she was like, she goes, can I come with you? I was like, yeah, coming in. She come down with us, and yeah, she got caught because whilst I was nicking the cake, she was eating them.
Oh.
So she weren't looking. So as I've spotted this guy, he goes, come here. I've gone, and I've still got the tray in my. I've gone. I'm like, let go of my sister. I'm getting my mum.
Oh.
You don't want my mum coming. That's what I mean. My mum was so alive. She was so like, you know, you would if you was getting in a scrap and they brought their parents, I'd bring my mum. You're in trouble, you know. But now she's just a shell.
So sad. So what was your next brushing with the law?
I was. Do you know when you play ET on a push bike? So you're on the handlebars, but you're sitting on the handlebars.
Oh, play ET.
Yeah. So you're on. Yeah. So I was getting a lift back like ET style. So I was on the handlebars, and I was with a guy that was in prison with my brother, and when he come out, he didn't have nowhere to go. So my brother was like, "Yeah, you can come back to mine." Well, it weren't. Mine was mum's house, and the only room that there was mine. So this kid ended up having my bedroom. Yeah. So I was like, "Oh right, okay." So he'd get in, I'd be asleep. And I'd wake up and I'd have his feet in my face because he's top and tailing me. I'd had enough. So we went to the shop and come back from the shop. We had my other sister's bike, a luminous pink girl's bike. I'm on the handlebars, and this guy was coming down on another bike, and he goes, "Yeah, let's play chicken." And I was like, "What?" And the next thing I know, because I'm on the handlebars, I can't move nothing. We just ploughed into this guy, and I was hurt really bad. And the guy who was on the back of the bike, he done a runner, and I was just left tangled up in this guy's bike, and he called the police on us, and I got nicked for that. But
what's the charge for that?
criminal damage.
Interesting.
I was on the handlebars. I had no control.
You got hurt.
Yeah, I was hurt. I was caught in the wheel.
Yeah.
So that was that. But then, like,
What's the charges on that one?
I got off of it because I was young. They wanted him but he was gone. So. But like from then, I'd done lots of like, you know, just stupid petty things. You know, it was just. You know, we robbed the milk float once, and the milkman chased after us, and we were going around the corner, and my cousins were hanging on the side. The milk float ended up tipping over, and the road was completely white of milk, and the milkman was just looking at us. But as he was chasing after us, we were throwing pints of milk at him, you know, and you know, you used to get pints of orange juice, and it was like we were like grenades, and then throwing. So it's smashing. He was ducking, so the milk float went over, and we managed to get away. But
have you ever stole off the milkman?
Doorsteps, done the doorstep.
Yeah, done the doorstep
orange
ones,
juices.
yeah.
Orange juices, yeah.
You used to find it in a ward, yeah.
But like as time went on, I was young when I done all this stuff, you know, and as time went on, my crime got more extensive. You know, I started being up in the dock for weapon offences, you know, so I'd been up there a couple of times for knife crime offences because, like I said earlier on, I wasn't a clean person. I was hands in dirty, you know, and you know, weapons were choice acts, knives, things like that, you know. It was just part and parcel of how we was back then when we were kids. And like I said, the amount of damage that I caused, you know, the amount of times I come close to going to jail, and it wasn't until I become a victim myself that I realised that everything I was doing, it had to change. Because if someone would have come to me and give me this feeling when I was a kid, I would have never have done anything. I would never have hurt anybody, no matter what. I would never have hurt anybody because now I know how they felt. And I've done apologies. I've said to everyone that I've hurt, whether they believe my apology or not, it's up to them. But I am truly sorry for what I did. So
the weapons offences then, was that like possession? Was that hurting people? Or?
Yeah. So I had a couple of charges for a stabbing. We was in a tussle once before in a group, and I ended up like whacking a copper with a hammer, and you know, it was just like bits and pieces, like all stuff. I can't stress to you enough how much I regret all the stuff I've done, you know.
So that landed you in prison, did it, for the first time?
No. I ended up in a mental institution. I was deemed unsafe to the public, so yeah.
Oh wow.
So you had to get psychiatric analysis? Yeah.
It was the police that put me there. You know, it was. You know, I was in this. I was in it for a while, but you know, they stuck me in there. But I didn't feel like I was nuts. I knew that I was off key, but I didn't think that I was like I should have been. You know, people are in there and they're headbutting walls and shouting out stupid stuff, and you know, like chants and that. I wasn't any of that. I was just like.
But so, were you heavily medicated back then when you were in the mental institute?
Yeah. And that's why I don't do medication a lot now, because they don't tell you what they're putting you on. They just give you it, you know, and the more you are off key, the more that they give you to make you just fall asleep all the time. And you know, when you see, and sometimes you see in the movies where they're sitting there and they're just like, you feel like that, really fatigued. That's what it does to you. They try and almost get you to a point where you just can't be bothered. And that's how come you see them people that are slurring words and stuff, because they're just off their nut. Yeah. Not mentally, just off their nut, like with drugs. And so I don't take no tablets for nothing.
Did you get your own room in there?
Yeah.
And is it like a community area and stuff? Or?
Yeah, there's a community area, but it was guarded, you know. You had people there. I'd want to say it was like prison, but I don't know, you know. So you have the people there, and you know, if you did kick off, they weren't light with you either. You'd get twisted up, and you get thrown in. I want to see someone that was just, they weren't really doing anything. They got told to stop clicking, so they were like clicking. I don't know how they done it. I've tried to imitate it, but they were clicking their fingers, but it was really loud. But they would, like, with their nails, almost. I think they were trying to like take their nails off, but it was making a noise. And I see him say stop it, and it didn't. I say, threw him on the floor, and then he put a chair over him, and they sat down on the chair, and the geezer was just laying there. And if I turn around and go, you can't do that, bang, that's it. You're
Same happens to you. Wow.
How old were you when you got out of that one?
18, 19.
And did your life continue on that same vein?
Nah. Well, it like I say, it wasn't until I lost my brother that things changed for me. So my change pattern has only been 5 years, you know. And when I say that, when it first happened, I was always quite hands-on. I collected money. If someone needed something done, I'd be going to do it. I was a very hands-on physical person, you know. Never done drugs. I've never even taken drugs. Nothing. That was all my brother. But, you know, he was the one that done all that lot. But
What was your job at this point?
I was a criminal.
That was it.
That was it. I was a criminal. And then the times when I decided to try and do something that was a little bit different, I went on to do building work and stuff, you know, and I was just doing stuff on that.
So what were your hurriest moments when you were a criminal then? What close calls did you have?
Went into a house. I was with my brother, went into a house. There was some problems with people paying for, you know, drugs and stuff that they had, and we've gone into a house, and as we've gone into a house, we thought there would have only been a couple of people in there, and there wasn't. There was like, they'd just had a party the night before, so there was a lot of people that was just laying around. And then when we turned in, everyone stood up. That ended up in a mass brawl. There was about 4 of us, and there was a lot of them. I couldn't even tell you how many people there was. There was a lot of them. That was one of them. We were lucky to get out. Someone that was with us, he ended up getting stabbed in the like through the, you know, the part between the collarbone, and he got stabbed there. So we ended up having to drag him out and then get him in the car and go.
Did that ever get collected?
Yeah.
How much was it? Out of interest.
$4,000. Yeah, it weren't nothing major, but yeah, it weren't like no big player thing. But it's just, you know, countryside, so it's just, you know, if you're a fiver, people do stupid things. It's just pathetic, honestly. But
what about getting guns pulled on you, things like that?
Yeah, I haven't been convicted for any of that, so I've never had my hands on any of them before.
But I mean, other people pulling them on you.
Yeah, there was this one time where I was actually in Manchester, in Moss Side. I used to live
Moss
up there.
Side?
Yeah,
We got chased out of Moss Side.
Yeah, and that's kind of like that, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So I'd gone up to go and buy a dog from Moss Side, and
what an opening line for the story. I went to go and buy a dog from Moss Side.
So I've gone up there. I'm in Moss Side. I'm buying this dog, and I pulled in this road, and there was no cars anywhere. I was the only car that was there, and I was like, something don't feel right here. So we'd gone up, and I thought, we're getting robbed. I'm getting robbed. I was on my own, and I was like, I'm getting robbed here. I still done it anyway because I really wanted this dog. You know, there wasn't many people that had this certain dog, so I was it was an American Bulldog, but it was like a Johnson's one. So it was stocky. The dad,
dog.
yeah, it was it was a really nice dog. You know, so I've opened the door, and this girl's opened the door, and I was like, oh, you all right? I'm a burly man standing on the door. There's a little girl there's there. It's fine. I was like, I come to buy a dog. They say, yeah, come in. I've got a dog. And then as I was leaving, someone said, so this guy pulled a gun out, and I was like, what's that? So I've grabbed the end of the gun and I've pulled it down.
Is this in the house?
Yeah, as I'm
Someone
coming out.
Someone who lived in the house?
So what they'd done is I think they set it up. So as I was coming out, they were going to rob me. So someone out on the street was already ready for when I was coming out of the house. So as I come out, I've grabbed the end of the gun and I've moved it to the side, and I'm holding this gun, and they're like, what you do? I said, what are you doing? And they go, give me everything you got. I said, I've got what you've got. you know, I've got what you got. But obviously I was I was very aggressive with this. I said, I've got what you got. And
I love that.
And I said, I said, if you want the money, mate, it's in the house. And he went, right. So he walked straight past me. I got in my car and I was gone.
Did you get the dog?
Yeah, I got the dog. The dog's mine, you know. But I was like, this, get out of the way. But yeah, that was a hairy moment on that one. I'm never going to Moss Side to buy a dog again. Yeah. I'll stay local now. Stick with chihuahuas and stuff.
Do you still have that dog?
Nah, it dies. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to hear.
Yeah, it dies.
So have you been stabbed?
No. I got stabbed with a nail file.
Okay.
Yeah.
By who?
Ex. Yeah. An ex. Yeah.
Do you want a row?
Well, no, it wasn't even a row. I was leaving my shop at the time to go up to Newcastle because I used to live up in Newcastle, and I was leaving my shop, and she's just crazy girl. She's an ex for a reason. So my phone rang and I left all my CDs. At times the CDs, you know, and I left my CDs and my brother-in-law called me up and he was like, "You've left all your CDs." I was like, all right, no problem. She was like, "Who's that?" She's sitting there doing her nails. "Who's that?" I go, "Give me a sec." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there in a minute." She's like, "Who is that?" I went, "Give me a sec. I'm just on the phone." She goes, "You're chatting to a girl," and I was like, hold on, I'll come back in a minute. I'll put the phone down. She was like, "You're chatting to a girl." I was like, "I'm chatting to Ryan. You're going to see him in a minute, you know." And she was like, doing her nails, and she went like that to stab me in the eye with the nail file. And I put my hand up, luckily, and you see that scar that's there. Yeah. She got me on that one. Good and proper. Oh my god, can you imagine if she'd have got that?
I've got to ask. You've got a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
Which was your first?
It was some Chinese symbols that was underneath here.
Oh, yeah.
The reason why I got tattoos was all mental, the mental trauma. I never planned on getting tattoos. I didn't want tattoos. I wanted to be an individual, you know. My brother was covered as well. My journey for tattoos started because I wanted to create a persona that if this guy ever come back to my mum's, I would look scary enough for him not to want to hurt her. Okay. And that's where it all started. Turned out I ended up loving it that much anyway that I'd become a tattooist myself. So that's what I do as my day job. I'm a tattoo artist. So something that I put into play to try as a deterrent ended up being my career.
So that was in your teens then, was it, when you started?
Yeah, I started tattooing. I started getting tattoos quite late, actually. I was about 19, 20 when I first started. But I was there like every week. Just put it on me. Which
was your first? The Chinese
symbols.
What did it say?
It said angel.
Oh.
I went with a friend of mine and he got to the shop before me. We was like, yeah, let's get Chinese symbols because that was the thing. And he'd got there and he only had 2 Chinese symbols on the wall. One said devil, the other one said angel. He got there before me, got devil, I got angel.
Unlucky.
Yeah, really.
Why did you get it covered up then?
I don't want angel on it. And it probably didn't even say what it said anyway.
No, I find that amusing. Let's say chicken chow mein and rice or something.
Yeah, I think that's what it did. I think that's what it said. Every time I walked in there, they go, usual.
What other crazy stuff happened to you in your 20s?
20s. Do you know what? Like, honestly, when I sit there and say to you, like, most of the stuff that I've done is all like been so clouded from trauma from losing my brother that every time I try and think of stuff, I don't, you know, it's just not there. But, you know, in my 20s, I had, you know, I was arrested for a stabbing again for another time. That was all to do with an ex. You know, it's just all mad. I once, the same guy that I'd done the ET thing with, yeah, he never actually moved away. He stayed with us, and we stole my mum and dad's car, my stepdad's car, and I didn't know how to drive. And he was like, "Should we go for a drive?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And I got in the car, and where my mum lives, she lives in the houses and right opposite of bungalows. And I didn't realise that the steering was on a full lock. So he was like, "Do a wheel spin." I was like, "Yeah." So I was in there. I was like, dropped it, done a wheel spin, and we just went like this. And I drove through the house opposite. Yeah. I drove through the house opposite. I didn't know what to do. We was panicking. He's like, "You're gonna need to reverse it." I said, "I don't know how to reverse."
What are people in?
Luckily, the guy whose bedroom it was is a friend of mine, and he was staying at his mum's house. That was his granddad's house, so that was his bedroom. And we sort of pinned his beds to the opposite side of the wall. But I reversed out of there, not thinking nothing of it, just out of panic. I was like, I don't know what to do, and the car was like smashed up. So I was like, right, let's face it the other way. So if anyone comes, if my mum finds out, which she would like, then it looked like someone's hit the car as they've driven down and driven off, like a hit and run. I didn't sit there and think. There was a tyre track, and then there was bricks across the road, and there was a tree underneath the car, you know. And I've gone to mum. I was like, "Can I stay at my mate's house tonight?" And he in Scottish, the boy, he was Scottish. He was from Scotland, but we called him Scottish. He was like, "What am I going to do?" I said, "That's your problem, mate. Like, I'm off." Like, so I was away. Get a phone call in the morning. Get your ass home now. I was like, "What's the matter, mum?" It was him. It was him. I saw him do it. I went, yeah, it was just past the buck on that one.
When did you move out of living with your mum then?
15.
15.
15, yeah.
Where did you go?
I moved into a house with a girl that I was with at the time. Absolute just nuts woman. You know, she's... Yeah, I hadn't been too successful with women, you know. I just, I hadn't been that great. There's a lot of trauma there, I can tell you. But yeah, I ended up moving in with this older woman. She had a kid and that lot. I moved in with her. She had the house, so it was only like 10 doors up the road from where I lived anyway. So
how long did that last?
Oh, longer than what it should have done, mate. Longer than what it should have done. That was all help and part and parcel of how I ended up in the nut house as well. It was all massive parts to play with it and stuff. Yeah.
How so?
She was just mind games. You know, you go from one mind game to another mind game, and it was just, you know, you're always getting kicked out. And she was always one of them where, like, do you know who like I'm with, you know? And because I was very violent, she was quite well hated, but when she was with me, they didn't really touch her or nothing. So then it was always, so she was always forcing me to be worse than what I was by playing mind games with her, saying, "Oh, are you too scared? Are you scared?" Even though she knew I wasn't. So I was then going to do stuff, and you know that was just too much. I shouldn't have done half the stuff, and half the people that got hurt was because of her. You know, just because she wanted to be queen of the estate. You know, and it didn't really work out because she's horrible.
So the stress...
we just stop at horrible.
Horrible.
Because there'd be a whole hour of what I could call.
So the stress accumulated.
Yeah.
You ended up in that place, and then where did you go back to her? Did you go somewhere else?
No. That was done. I mean, I'd come out of the institution. I'd got in some more trouble, and I was on the run from the police.
What kind of trouble?
Fighting again, just, you know, fighting and just collecting and all of the above, you know. And, you know, a lot of the time when I was where I was at, I was really well known within my area, you know, and because you're not involved with it anymore, everyone always try and call you what they need to call you because they want you back. Do you know what I mean? They want you back in that negativity. So you can't rise to that stuff. But when I was there, I thought I was like loved. I thought I was popular. I thought I was the man. Everyone would bib. Everyone would just give you mad respect, you know. And you thought that you was just king because everyone just feared you, and it was just power. And you know, when you realise that the respect is out of fear and it's not out of love, you realise that no one actually likes you. You're just an horrible person and no one wanted you around. So when I left, I was on the run. I'd done a runner to Warrington.
Warrington, where I'm from. I'm from Widnes, next to Warrington, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd done one up there to a guy called Gary Bundy's house, and he was like my friend here. And he ended up meeting a girl from there. He went up there, so I was on the run up there, and that's when I started realising that no one was contacting me. Like I thought people would miss us and that lot because I knew so many people, and they didn't. No one missed us, and that's when I realised that all this crime stuff is just all bollocks. You know?
What do you think of Warrington?
Oh, yeah, I liked it. It was all right. It was all right. I weren't there too long because I ended up going from there to Sunderland's.
Sunderland, so further north.
Yeah.
So why did you go over there?
There was a job over there.
Right.
And there was a job over there, and I stumbled across another woman. Another woman that run me to the ground.
Was it a legit job or a collection?
No. I when I moved away, and being away from that lifestyle and being away from people that expect that from you, that when you move somewhere new, if you're in your head, you want to change. When you go somewhere new, you could be anyone you want to be. You know, and I just wanted to be different because I was fed up with the pain that I was feeling of like, just, you know, you have to do this, you have to be that person, you know. And it's just, you know, you look in the mirror and you just don't even want to look at yourself anymore because you know that who that person is not who you truly are, you know. And it's like, it's, and I understand that now. I was gradually understanding, like, all right, no one knows me here until I find out how the land lies, and then I'll start doing it all again, you know. So I was enjoying being invisible. It was nice to be invisible. I walked down the road, and you know, a horn would bib, and I didn't have to turn around, you know, and be like, "Who are mate? How you doing?" You know, I didn't have to do none of that. It was just nice to be invisible. And again, another woman that wanted to cause trouble, and she wanted to be known, and you do it, and then she's like, "Oh, you bring trouble to the house, you need to get out," and then you get kicked out, and then you get your wages, and then they call you back, spend your money, and then they cause a problem, so then you kick off again, then they go, "You're bringing too much trouble," and again you get kicked out, and that went on for a few years, you know. So
years in Sunderland.
Yeah, I've done 6.5 years in Sunderland.
6.5 years.
Yeah, but the reason why I stayed there was because I had this amazing job there. Do you know, I was tattooing in a shop called Sunderland Body Art, and it was quite a reputable shop, and I was really lucky to be there. And the guy there, guy called Charlie Wilson, he was like my mentor. He was like, got me where I needed to get. Unfortunately, we stopped seeing eye to eye for a little bit because, you know, there was a bit of skirt around that wanted to own my position, and he kind of ran for that, and, you know, I ended up leaving and coming back down to Ipswich where my mum and that lot was.
How old are you at that point?
24, 25, I think, something like that. 25, 26, something like that.
So did that put you back in the mix with the locals in Ipswich?
No, this was really thing. So what happened was I got told that if I come back, I'm going to get jumped. They're going to deal with me. They're going to do all this and do all that lot. So
Who said this?
all these people that then claimed a reputation after I left. So when you leave, someone else is ready to jump in your spot, right? So all these people, and then when someone jumps in your spot, everyone else that was licking you was now licking them, you know? So you go there, and then it just so happened that this one house come up when I was coming back, and it was next door to a house where they all hang out, and it next door to the pub where they all go to the pub. So my house was smack bang in the middle of it all, and I just landed.
This podcast is sponsored by Harry's. Harry's is way more than a super sharp razor company. They're here to revamp your whole routine, from close shaves and flake-free hair, all the way to clear, healthy skin. Harry's helps guys feel great. For this sponsorship, Harry's is offering a free travel-sized shower gel with a trial set to you, the viewers, to give you a chance to try their other products as well as shave. Please make sure to support this podcast and give your own shower shave a go by redeeming a free Harry's trial set. All you cover is £3.95 for delivery. Just head to harrys.com/Shaun, SHAUN, to have your set delivered and start a shave plan. Your freebie will be added at checkout. That's harrys.com/Shaun, SHAUN. Thank you for supporting Harry's. Link is in the description box below this video.
And then all these people, I was getting all the stuff out of the van, and they're all standing outside. They go, "Oh, you're back." And it's like, "Yeah, I'm back."
Oh.
And they're like, "What's up?" So I'd literally been back to Felixstowe, yeah, where I was back one day. And when I woke up in the morning, this guy was walking past the house that I'd been, and I just switched back to who I was. And that's why I can't live in Felixstowe no more, because when I go there, something something negative just takes over and you end up becoming back that person instantly. I thought I'd done 6.5 years without even getting into trouble once, you know what I mean? And then I come back to the hometown as where I grew up, and within a night I was back to how I was, because I was out the front of my house scrapping these two guys, you know. That's told my mum to F off once, you know what I mean? And I was like, oi, come here, you know, and it went off, you know, and, you know, they got hurt. I went back in the house and she was like, oh, what do you think you're doing? And I was like, that's the guys that, and she goes, I don't care, get out. So that was there, that's how it was, you know, and it was like, you get paid, you go back home. You spend the money, you get kicked out again. And that was it.
Wow.
So was there more police trouble after that?
Yeah. There was always, I always had problems with police, you know. But whenever the police do get called, they come in numbers, you know, because I'm a code red. You know, when the police had come for me in the past, especially me and my brother, because together we was like a bit of a nuisance, you know, with Davy, you know. When the police turned up, and we'd scrap the police, and, you know, it's just, again, as fun, and I got a rush from it all, you know. It was, you know yourself, when you're committing crimes, the rush is, you can't explain it, you can only feel it, you know. And then the police turn up and you're like, yeah, go on in, and you have it all that lot, and you don't realise, man, that when it's actually needed, i.e. when my brother was killed, you don't realise how much the police actually are there to help you. And it's a rude awakening, because I'm like, police, you know, like giving it all out. Like, I really have no respect for the police whatsoever, none. And there's odd coppers where I'm still like, you know, what do you want, you know? But, you know, just because I don't feel like they're there for their job, they're just there because they got issues themselves, got bullied or whatever, you know what I mean? But the ones that truly are the ones that helped us with my brother's case, you know. But when I lost my brother, the police were so determined. Like, whenever they were going to someone, they said, Paul's already been here. They'd go and question someone. They say, Paul's already been here. And then they turn around and said, has he? What did he ask? And he said, I asked where he can find him. And they were like, you better find him before Paul does. Because, you know, I'd gone out, I lost my brother. And the night I lost my brother, I was still that same violent person. You know what I mean? But this time I wasn't going out just to smack someone up. I was going out to kill 4 people. And I never went home for 7 days. I was just on, I'd ring up and be like, is mum all right? Make sure she's all right and stuff, you know. And my mum smashed up her house, like hurt herself, you know. It's just, so this all just led that I needed to find these guys. And, you know, within the length of time, like one of the guys got found and he was stabbed twice. They never found out who that was that done that. But yeah, I thought that he was going to die, because when I found out that he'd got stabbed, I thought, yeah, he's dead. He's just a skinny, like, crackhead. He was like borderline ready to die anyway. But that's the guy that killed my brother.
What? That's
the guy that killed my brother. Like the skinniest, weakest one out of them all was the coward that done. And I say coward because I can say coward because I'd done the same stuff. So I was a coward for doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Was it a drug related situation?
My brother was what I call a functioning drug addict. You know this yourself. You take drugs at the weekend, carry on with your job, you know. So he normally got his drugs from one line. This line had been turned over. The police took all his stuff, so he couldn't get his stuff, and he was clucking, you know. So he needed to get some stuff. There's this new line that opened in the town, and my brother wasn't a face to that. But my brother didn't realise that when he was going up to score his drugs, that they had a tip off that they were going to get robbed by a gang, one of the local gangs in the area. And when my brother turned up, he was a new face, so they thought that he might have been the spotter for the gang. So they come out and treat him like he was the one that was there to rob him, but he just wanted his drugs. Got in a fight with him. It was back and forth. It was like 5:30 in the day, busy traffic area on a busy road. He was fighting him. He went on the path, onto the road, on the path, back over the other side. And by the time he had come back, he was like stepping back and fighting, because he could really have a row, you know. He tripped over the curb, and when he tripped over the curb, A little skinny rat come out and just stabbed him whilst he was on the floor, and then they all ran off, and that was it.
What a piece of shit.
Died in a stranger's arms. Didn't even know the guy.
Wow.
But this is the stuff, like when you say about the live videos and stuff that we do with Carl. Carl's very big on the ripple effect, right? So we talk a lot about this, and I never really thought about it, but that guy was a teacher at school that was on his way home from a day at school, just walking home, his normal trip.
The guy who held your brother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know who the guy is. I don't know who he is to speak to him, to ask him if he's okay. I would love to podcast him, just to find out a little bit and see how he's got on and that lot. But I don't know who the guy is. They won't tell me who he is. He was obviously a witness in the case, but I weren't allowed in the room because I had to psych evaluated before they'd let me in the courts, because they deemed me to be them not to be safe if I was in the court. So for the first 4 weeks of the trial, I was being psych evaluated in the courtroom, and the amount of police that was down there just to stop anything from happening. And I'm a one-man army. I'll do my thing. I don't need people to come with me. I don't need anything. When I went to look for these people that killed my brother, I was on my own, and no one come with me. And I felt lonely because I thought I had people around me that would come with me to kill people, And when it's actually put on the table and it's like, right, my brother's been killed. Like, I need to go and find these people. Don't do nothing stupid. I know you're not going to listen, but don't do nothing stupid. I'm like, all right, yeah, cool. And just hung up, and I was so angry. I was like, wait until I've dealt with these, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to have words with you, because you should be by my side. Because if someone died in your family, I would have been there with you. Do you know what I mean? That would probably have been me doing the killing for you, but I was on my own. And that was hard. So whilst I'm dealing with all this, I've got the worry of, like I say, my mum and stuff, and then I've got trying to get my head right, because I want to kill these people before my brother gets found. And the police are they can't nick me because they think I'm going to go and kill somebody. So they're always like one step ahead of me, or they're trying to think they're in front of me. But every time they went round a house thinking they were one step ahead of me, I'd already been round the house. I was walking down the road. I was causing that much destruction. I was taking drug dealers that were shotting on the corners, and I was just ruining them. I had no interest in any of the drugs or anything. And they said, did he take your drugs? And it's like, no. The people I was with did. Yeah. Like when I say the people that I was with, so I'd get a crackhead and I'd say, take me to the person where they're shotting, because I didn't know where they were. So I'd go down, they'd go, there he is over there. And I go, wicked. I'd go off, dealt with them, and then them people that were waiting on the corner waiting for me, they'd come running out, scurries like little cockroaches, and they'd be fleecing them whilst I'd be off. I wasn't interested in that, and it got to the point where I was finding all these places, and I was walking, and I found out there was a house. Yeah, so I turned up to this house where one of the people was supposed to be who killed my brother, and I turned up to the house, and they said it was a flat. So you walk in, there's stairs that go up the side of the house to the door, and there's a little driveway down the side. And I'm down there, I'm knocking on the door, hoping that it's going to come to the door. There's no answer. I'm shouting through the letterbox, Jason Ruby, you better come out, mate. I want to talk to you. And there was nothing. So I got on the phone. I've come down the stairs. I've got on the phone. I'm standing there and I'm on the phone. I was like, you told me he was going to be here. You wait until I come and see you. Do you know what I mean? You give me false information. You're running me around. I said, time is precious. We need to get these people. And I'm on there. I was like, you told me he was going to be here. I'm tooled up. I'm ready to go. I'm waiting to kill this geezer. So whilst I'm standing there was this white van on the driveway, and the windows were like blacked out, and I'm standing there and I'm like talking on the phone, but I can see myself in the mirror, in the reflection of and I'm like, I'm gonna do him, he's done, like, tell me where he is. And he's like, I swear to you, he's there. I went until I was in court that he moved from the house and he moved into the van. So as I'm shouting that I'm gonna kill him and everything else, he was actually looking at me through the window in the van, because he said it in court.
Oh wow. Where were you when you found out about your brother's death?
I was in a petrol station.
Can you talk us through that day?
Yeah. It's a really weird one that day, right? Because where my brother was murdered, that's the journey home for Jamie, my cameraman. That's his journey home. And he'd had a real crap day at work. And he was on the bus home. And when he was on the bus home, it was under a bridge, and all the bridge had been cornered off. There was like tape police everywhere, like lights. He's FaceTimed me. No, he sent me a picture. He sent me a picture going, and he said the word, he goes, it's probably another crackhead dead, like that. But he didn't mean it like that, but it was just like that. And he goes, now I've got to go the long way round, because he was really pissed off. And I just dropped my daughter off after having her, and I was in a petrol station, and it was 10:30, and I got a phone call from my mum. I was like, what's mum ringing me at 10:30? There must be something that matters. So I've answered, and I'm standing there. The guy is like, you must get off your phone. You must get off your phone. I'm like, wait a minute, mate, you know, and I'm on the phone. He goes, you need to get off your phone. And then my mum's like, they got him, but it was screeching, just like, they've got him. I said, whoa. I said, what's going on? She went, he's dead. I went, who's dead? She went, Dean's dead. I said, nah, mum, you probably got that wrong. You know what Dean's like. He's in and out, like, you know what he's like. She goes, no, the police are here now. And she's like, oh, my baby. And she's screaming. And I was like, what's going on, mum? So tell me what's going on. She's like, he's dead. And I was like, are you sure? She went, the police, they get out of my... She's like, get out, because we was... like I said, we're anti-police. Even my mum would take the police on, you know. She'd be on them. Get out of my house and all that, like, you know. And so I'm sitting there, you know, I was like, I'm now coming. And then I rung Jamie up and I said, that the police down there, that was Dean, he's dead. And then it was just like just crazy. And I'm trying to let the people I know that Dean's gone, and I need people now, because I've got to go out. I've got to go and get these guys. And everyone was just like, you kidding me? I said, I'm off to my mum's now. I'll let you know. They said, let me know. So I put the phone down. I'm driving back, and like, I want to cry, but I just can't cry. I'm welled up, but I'm so confused, because no one can get my brother. He's like the toughest person I've ever known in my life. No one can get him. And I'm driving, and then I just started screaming, like just holding the steering wheel, and I'm shaking it, trying to pull the steering wheel off. And I'm driving down the motorway, I'm trying to pull a steering wheel off, you know, and I'm just screaming. I've nutted the window, like I'm just going crazy. And then I was like, I was no longer out. I was out of breath, and I started being like, oh, and I could feel myself going, and I'm driving that. So I've like given a shake. I've undone the window, and then from that point on, after I got that scream out, I was focused. Yeah, I now need to think. I've gone walking in. The police are standing there, and as soon as I've gone in, they were leaning on the worktop. I've gone in, and they've just stood up. Yeah, and I've gone. I'm walking in. I'm like, is it true? And they're like, and I went, how do you know? She went, Paul, I've been arresting you guys for years. She goes, I've seen it. I've seen him. And then I was like, all I can hear is my mum upstairs. She's screaming. I hear stuff smashing. I hear she's picking the bedside tables and just throwing them at the wall. Like, she's literally smashed her whole house up. And she's screaming, oh, my baby. It's hard. And then, like I say, I was focused. And then from that point, I was like, do you know who they are? She went, no. I said, I'll have them by tomorrow morning. And she just looked at me and she goes, I don't doubt that. And then my cousin come round, and he was a useless... my cousin is... he was about that life as well, like drug life and stuff. And he could have took me straight to the people that night. He could have took me to the people. And he goes, if you need me, you know where I am. I said, I don't need you. I don't need nobody. And then I got in my car. I said to the others, I went, you look after mum. And the police were like, Paul, you need to let people know first. And I said, I'll be letting everyone know. But I'll tell you what, like, it's so thing, because the police let me do their job for a little bit, you know. I had to ring my brother's sons up, and I had to say to him, your dad's dead, you know. And they're screaming down the phone, and it's just mental. Absolutely mental. But I had to do all of that. So I'm dealing with a lot, like, you know. I'm dealing with, like, I'm never going to see my brother no more. I'm never, like, my mum always said, if any of you go, because the lifestyle that me and my brother lived was... Like, my brother was, you know, drug addicted. So he was in and out of, you know, drug houses, and just she was worried that he was going to accidentally OD or something like this, you know. Me, I was violence. So she was worried that I was going to end up, you know, hurt myself, because some of the stuff that I'd got into was absolutely insane, you know, from what she heard back. Like with a lot of stuff, I don't really go in too much deep because I've never been arrested for it. I've never been things, so I haven't had convictions. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, I did. Did you hear about that? Because that was me, you know, because I'd be nicked straight away from it, you know. So I've got to be careful as well on some of the bits, you know. But yeah,
Wow, powerful.
yeah, it's really hard, and a lot of people that they don't get is every time that I talk about this to help save people, I put myself back to the beginning again. And you know, people think, oh yeah, and you always get them people that say, oh, you're a clout chaser. Nah, this is passion, this is real, this is what I felt. There's no clout in any of this, you know. It's all about the message, and I have to put myself back to square one every single time to be able to come and do this. You know, I've got a long drive home. I'll drive home and I'll just probably be a bit quiet and I'll be a bit off, and tomorrow I feel a little bit, do you know what I mean? But that's what it does to me. But the message is so clear. I have to spread this message because I need kids to stop doing this stuff, man. Stop killing each other, because the craziness of what's left behind for someone like me, you know, I'm you know, from a visual, I look like a criminal, I look like I can have it or whatever. Like, I'm hurting, I'm suffering. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if I can get that across in doing things like this and, you know, welling up, and yeah, it's
really powerful. Yeah, I mean, I'm speechless.
Me too. You made us speechless.
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
You're very strong.
Yeah.
Very strong.
I honestly, if I think about falling back a little bit just to have some me time, I don't think I'd get back up again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in the aftermath of that, then your siblings, what's going on with you and your siblings?
My sister, who's was heavy on drinking stuff, I thought she was gonna just kill herself off as well. So my sister and my brother were best friends. They were the closest together. They were like best friends. They told each other everything. They went to raves together. They done drugs together, like smoked and pills, and you know, and they'd done everything together. You know, they'd be up all night chatting. They'd be, you know, if there was any problems with them, it'd be them two, and then it'd be me and my other sister. So that was that. But we were all there for each other.
How did she take the news of his death?
She if you even mention Dean, just his name, you'll see her. She'll start welling up. She's destroyed. She's a very emotional girl, you know. So she you know, she was drinking a lot, and I thought to myself, I can't lose another one. So what I done is I ended up telling her, like, you know, I went to a psychic medium, and the psychic medium, Dean, come through, and he said that if you keep drinking, you're gonna die, and he doesn't want you to. So I needed to get that into her head so she'd stop drinking. And then I ended up getting her come work for me in my tattoo studio that I had at the time. And she's a receptionist and she does a really good job. I keep her busy all the time. But whilst I'm there, I listen, I walked in the house and my banter's straight away, yeah? And I'm on it all the time. And my sister was so weak, she didn't really get my banter, and it was really hard at first for her to think that I wasn't picking on her. And all I was doing was I'm just trying to build her up and make her strong. Now she can take like the worst jokes. Like she's like, she goes, oh, that's my little brother. And everyone goes, oh, right, your brother. Now I get why you two are like that, you know? But yeah, it took ages to get her that. But actually, emotionally, she's wrecked. Come the anniversaries and stuff, she's like, can I just have the day off? And I'm like, no, you come to work. I'm at work, so you come to work. So I go to work on the anniversaries and the birthdays and that lot, so she comes to work as well. Because if I left her at home, I don't know if she's going to start getting back to the drink and ruin everything that she's built up for one day, you know. So I try and celebrate the days. I get us all together and go for meals and stuff and just be like, you know, be lucky. And we let off balloons, and I try and do everything I can just to try and turn his death into a positive with like the podcast and the going out to do college talks. Thanks to Carl, he got us in the college and done things like that. And you know, and Jamie gets us into like the youth clubs and stuff. They contact him. He does all the emails and stuff, because I just can't do technology, you know, unless I'm watching, you know.
So you were hunting down the perpetrators then.
Yeah.
What reined you in from that mission?
What they got caught.
They got caught.
Well, one of them got caught because he got stabbed.
How?
How did he get stabbed?
Or why?
Well, he got stabbed because he killed my brother.
Who did it?
Well,
yeah, that
kind of question.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know who did it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and they all got put inside then, so they're getting.
Did all of them go? Yeah.
Are they getting?
Yeah. So, do you know when I said about a medium earlier on?
Yeah.
So I went to a medium, yeah, because my mum, there's this lady, Stephanie Carr. You can look her up. She's famous medium. Yeah, she's absolutely a beautiful woman, right? And she went to, my family believe in all that stuff. I didn't, but I do now. Yeah. She went to this medium, and they turned around and said to my sister, in February, you're gonna have the police on your door. Be prepared. So they were like, oh, she was like, oh, my son's got a motorbike. He's gonna fall off his motorbike. The police. In February the 8th, the police knocked on the door and told us my brother was murdered. She's actually writing a second book, and we're actually in it. I'm in it, in her second book, yeah. And so they all literally made appointments to go and see her to find out if they can speak to Dean, try and find out what went on. Me, I set this woman up. I've done a different name and that lot, and I went in there and I was like, you know, she goes, you've lost someone very soon. And I was like, yeah, taken too soon. I was like, yeah. And then she started telling us about a gang in London. And she turned around and said, your brother said this gang in London is very dangerous. Do not retaliate. Please, I'm begging you, don't retaliate. And I'm like, my brother, you know, my brother's game. Do you know what I mean? My brother wouldn't tell me. No, we weren't afraid of nothing. There's some things that we've done. Do you know what I mean? I know that my brother's not telling me not to retaliate because he knows I would. 2 weeks after I come out of there, I said, I've just been to a medium. She turned around and said that you use her to help solve cases. And they said, we have used mediums in the past to solve cases. And I was like, really? I was like, because she told me that it was a gang from London that had something to do with my brother. And the police go, no, we've got no inklings of anything coming from London. Then 2 weeks later, they arrested 2 guys from London.
Wow. That
were part of a gang that was running county lines.
The lines, yeah.
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 So knowing that they was in custody then, did that give you a sense of satisfaction that some justice was going to be served one way or the other?
Nah, there's no satisfaction. And when I say to you, all I needed and wanted, the only goal that I had was murder. And I would not be satisfied until I have killed these 4 people. And that was in my head. So when they took that from me, when the police took that from me, because it's the right thing to do, right? But when they took that from me, I didn't know. I'm built up with just rage and anger because now I've been done. Like the police have fucked me over again, and I'm not happy because, like, I want to kill these people. I don't want them to serve time. I want to kill them. So
you're making plans to get arrested and go in, or?
It went through my head.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Went through my head.
Yeah,
it went through my head because I even turned around and said, if I got arrested, they were going to be in certain jails. There's 4 of them. I'm going to be in one of their jails, right? And I said, yeah, but they'll have you on different wings. You wouldn't get out. I said, I'll still be able to get to them. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there thinking, so I called out a couple of my mates. I said, like, you know, are they in there? I then got a phone call from the police saying, we need to speak to you. And I was like, what's up? And they said, I understand that you are contacting people inside to get them killed inside. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. They said one of the phones that you had been speaking on was our undercover phone inside that we've left on the landing. And that was recording all the calls. Bastards. And I was like, right. And they go, because we know that you struggle and, you know, this is very new and your emotions are everywhere and you've been very helpful. We're going to get you to sign this bit of paper. So I had to sign this bit of paper that swore that I wouldn't call nobody up in jail to kill these people, right? And so I've read this paper and they say, if you don't sign this, we have to arrest you for willing to commit attempted murder. Do you know what I mean? So I signed this bit of paper, and I've still got the paper. The paper's somewhere at home, and I've still got it. I had to sign it as is it like an affidavit to say that I will not contact anyone from jail to get them killed. So I had that, But when you're you're left, and you are left after the people have been caught. You're left. You really are left. You're not. As much as they turn around and say we're here for you if you need us. No, they're not, because they can't. Because all I want to do is give my brother a hug. Do you know what I mean? And you can't give me that. So what am I to do? I'm enraged, and this is when I started feeling like there was no one out there for me to be able to go to, and I'm the dangerous one. My mum's not dangerous. My mum just wants to die now. My sisters aren't dangerous. They just want to cry all the time. Me, I want revenge, but there was no one there for me. Nobody. So that's when I started seeing things from a victim's point of view. And that was probably the most powerful moment I ever had, of just sitting in a car on my own and just thinking, I've got nothing else to do now. I can't do nothing. I've let my brother down, And when you're alive, right? You live in the day. You think you think you're going to wake up tomorrow and the day's still going to be there, but there's that chance that you ain't going to wake up. So, but we abuse that power of just assuming that we're going to be there tomorrow. And because of that, we'll have an argument with someone before we go to sleep, just expecting we're going to make that up. I had an argument with my brother a week before he died. And it was a horrible argument, We argued, but we loved each other. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, and I had an argument. I said, I hate you. I don't want to speak to you no more. And he'd be like, cool, no problem. You ain't got to see me no more. Do you know what I mean? And then we walked off in the town. And that was the last words we said to each other.
Oh, no.
So I can't stress to you enough that if there is a problem with someone in your family or a friend or something, please use this second now to send a text, give them a hug, two-handed hug. It's important. This one hug stuff is gang shit. You want to just, give that proper hug and just be like, do you know what? Even if you don't want to talk to me, I just want you to know I love you.
You're going to get your phone out first.
So, they're in the jail then, and there's got to be a trial, is there?
Yeah, how long was the trial?
4 months.
What was that like for you?
It was horrendous because my mum had to go in the court on her own for the first I think it was about 4.5 weeks, about 4.5 weeks.
Yeah, because you were getting assessed.
I was getting assessed, and of course they didn't know whether they made the excuse that I couldn't go in there because they might use me as a witness. But as far as I was concerned, I don't know why they would call me as a witness, because I'm trying to kill people. So there's nothing that they can get from me to get. So they use that as an excuse, just in case the mental state was worse than what they thought, and I turned on them, and it just got all a bit nasty. So in the courtrooms, you've got chairs everywhere. They've got rooms where you can go and talk to your solicitor. I had my own room at the court, and I had police guard outside. There was 8 coppers. I had a copper in there with me. There was normally 2 or 1 that I'd have, 1 copper, 1 liaison officer. And I went through some liaison officers because I had 2 liaison officers quit on me because they said that I was so unpredictable. I actually scared them. And because of how difficult I was and how much I put these liaison officers through, I've been put forward to help train liaison officers on how to deal with people like me.
Wow. So, all right, take us through it then. First time you are allowed in the court with your police guard or whatever. Are they in there, the perpetrators?
Yeah.
Did you lock eyes with them?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what was that like? That must have
been
intense.
I don't think they knew who I was when I first went in there, but they could see that on my face. I've got a pretty obvious face that you know whether I'm angry or not. Yeah. So 4.5 weeks gone by, they turned around and I said, you can't not let me in the court anymore because, it's all done. You've been told you ain't going to call me as a witness, so I'm allowed in there. So I've gone in there, and as I've gone in there, I've walked in the door, and they said, Paul, you've got to be on your best behaviour in here if you want to last the court, yeah? So I'm like, I was like, yeah, I'm good. You know, I had police behind me. I had a police officer beside me. I've gone walking in. As I've gone walking in, the judges here, all the barristers, we had a silt, which is the highest barrister that you can get. They were all at the front, and right here was the glass screen, and it was boxed, because for me, I already knew what I was going to do, yeah? Because from whenever I've been in the dock, the glass is only yay high, right? So I knew that when I was in, the copper was going, and I was jumping the
What
dock.
stopped you from doing this?
It was glass top to bottom.
That's it?
Yeah, that was the only thing.
And what were you planning on doing?
Whatever I could to make sure that they were dead. Whatever I could, you know. And that was what I had when I first went into court. And then the first time that I laid eyes on them, they heard the door go, and we sat here, and then there was the square box, and it was a wall with a door with like half a window. So you could only see, like, if you were sitting down, you could only see the tops of their heads. If you stood up, you could see their face. And as I've come walking in the door, they've just turned to see who was coming in the door, and I'd come in, and I just looked at them, and I was like, and I looked at him as if to say, like, you're dead, you are dead. And then they then looked away. And I sat down, and I was there, and I was like shaking, and I was all this, and the judge kept looking at me, and I thought, I don't want to ruin this case, but I want to kill them guys. My mum's sitting there, she's sobbing, she's got these ear things in because you can't hear nothing, and I've got the liaison officer rubbing my shoulders. I'm like stop, like, do you know what I mean? I've got the coppers there, and then when they brought them out to go onto the stand, they brought them out. I leant forward. As I leant forward, the copper put his hand on my shoulder and was like, Paul, don't do it. Don't do it, because you'll ruin the case. And I was just like, oh, and he walked straight past me, and the copper could see me, and I was like, honestly, I was just edging. Yeah. And I thought, if he looks at me, he's done. And he wouldn't look at me. But when he was in there, they were looking at me. But when he come out to pass me, he didn't look at me. So it's amazing what a bit of glass can do for someone's like, yeah, I'm in here for an M charge, you know? And it's like, and then when they come out and they're there, I was like, look at me. And I was ready. I had one foot tucked under the chair, like ready to just launch fast, you know? Oh, shit. And I said, can they just run out any time to the coppers? And they said, yeah. I said, what, they could just go? He went, yeah. I said, did them doors not lock? He go, no. I said, why ain't you got a copper there? He goes, we've got you.
Wow.
We got you. We know that if they go to make a run for it, you'll take them down. So they knew that they weren't going to get nowhere, because I was sitting right next to the door. They said we didn't need a copper there to stop them from going, because they had me.
Wow.
I've never heard anything like this before in my life. This is mind-blowing. It's like a movie,
I want to podcast the police officer that was dealing with me. I really want to. Yeah. So they can say
before he can come on.
Yeah. But it's not long. I think I've got about another 5 years, and there's going to be a podcast to come. But
did you have to get on the stand then or anything?
No.
What were their excuses?
They said that my brother was there to rob him, and he was there, and that's what they said. But they went through all the evidence. This is why things took so long, like 4 months, and it was every day the trial was. There was like 2 or 3 days in that 4 months that we didn't, like, they went to deliberation and stuff like that. But it went on for so long that our jurors started disappearing because they had like jobs and stuff. So we was right down to whether we had to restart the court case again, because we had like, the jury was like getting less and less, and that was like, I was like, oh, we can't go through this again, you know. 600,000 it was just for the barristers in that room. 600 grand. Wow. They summed it all up. The CPS summed it all up at the end. It was a massive case.
Did they look remorseful, or were they acting tough?
Now, do you know, there was one of them. He thought he was cool. He didn't bother going into the stands. He didn't bother making like his thing. He just said, I'm not getting in the stands and that lot. And he thought he was going to get away with it. And this is what I'm trying to say. There was 3 of them on road that day that killed my brother. One of them was on the phone in London.
Right.
telling them what to do. So he wasn't there, but he's serving a life sentence because he was on the phone, and they got him by triangular cellular like pinpoint where the calls were coming from, because they said he was on the phone, and they pinned him to that phone, and he's serving 18 years full sentence before he can apply for parole. And that was a guy on the phone just making orders.
How did they know he'd give those orders? Did the others end up?
They got the phone.
Testify. Oh,
yeah. One of them spoke out a little bit. They got the phone that the call was made on. That was in his name. That was at his address, at one of his addresses that he was triangulated to. So he was banged to rights with that. There's text messages that stated that it was him on the phone, and they got him that way.
But how can they prove what he said?
one of them cooperated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's them get their word against
That's
theirs.
how it ends up.
Put it this way, the case was so strong against him that he's applied for a retrial all 3 times, and he got rejected.
Wow.
That's how strong it was from triangular cell data. And
what was it like when the sentence was about to come in?
So when these guys come through and they were on the stands, you know, they were like a bit cocky. Do you know what I mean? 2 of them were. The one that actually killed my brother and the other one. The one that was like, oh, what have I done? Was one of the lads that the other lad said that he stabbed him. But like, so the one that got done for the murder, the stabbing, he got 22 years full sentence before he can apply for parole. He said that this guy done it. He got 18 years full sentence before he can apply for parole. So 3 of them got 18 years each. One got 22 years. All full sentence. They have to serve full. The remand didn't come off. That was nearly a year. The remand didn't come off for that either. And before they can apply. So when these sentences were handed, the one that they said was doing it, Daniel Gaganda, he come from a good family. Like, the dad was a real religious, smart, just humble guy. And he was telling my mum, he went up to my mum and said, like, if my son has done this, I'm truly sorry. You know, I don't know what's got into him. I tried to give him a good life. He just keeps running back to the streets and all this lot. And he was just like a real humble guy. You know, he turned up, and then he stopped turning up the trial. But when he got found guilty, yeah, he was standing up, and I see him go, and he went like this, and I was like, yeah, we've got him, and he now knows he's going to be spending a long time in jail because he's been found guilty. They don't give you the sentence when they tell you you're guilty. It then goes back, it goes to deliberation, and then they come back and tell you the sentencing. So he got found guilty. The other ones got found guilty. Now, the main one that done it, he got found guilty, but he was just like, he was a scumbag. So he was like just dying anyway from gear. You know, he was a proper gearhead, you know, junkie. So him being in jail was probably not bad for him. You know what I mean? So the other one that was triangular date, the one that was on the phone, he was just cocky, so cocksure he was getting away with it. So he just sat there like, you know, and the judge ended up telling us all to get out a minute. So we got out, and I said, why have we been kicked out? Because that boy was saying stuff to the jury, saying like, you're all dead, to the jury. Yeah, because his sentencing thing come up and the judge spotted it. But he was like eyeballing them and telling them they're all dead, trying to stop them from making sure that he goes guilty. He don't get guilty. So we got kicked out. He got dealt with. We then come back in, and we found that out. And I found out that he was trying to intimidate them as well. So then every time I was looking in the dock, the 3 of them wouldn't look at me. He kept looking over. But when I was like on him, he looked away. Do you know what I mean? And when he got sentenced, he just went to walk out. But like went to walk out through the screws door, you know, and he goes, where are you going? Come back. And he come back. He says, you have been found guilty. And then he was just like, yeah, I know. And then he went to walk out, you know, thinking like he's going to get the less time out of it all. But when he got 18 years, he did not expect it at all. And then he was like, I'm going to appeal it. You know what I mean? Thinking that he would be able to get the appeal to get his sentence dropped. And he done it 3 times. It went to the high courts, and none of them got it. The evidence, they wanted it so bad. The judges, the barristers, the CPS, they used to come and see me in my room, and I was in there and I was being evaluated, and I was just like, I want this, like my mum, and they heard like my testimony and stuff, you know. I had help writing a letter to the judge saying, you know, I lost my mum that day, I lost that, and the judge was so sure that he's going to make it right so that these guys got justice. I mean, we didn't get what we wanted because they're alive, but at the same time, they're in prison. They ain't doing nothing now, you know. And as much as they think that they're all up for murder charges and that they're the men, they're still in prison. You know, the best part of their life. Like the guy that got 22 years is 49. You know, he's probably going to die in jail. You know, and the other one was 48. And he got 18, so he's probably, you know, there's nothing left for them. Mm-hmm. And the other guys, they're in their 20s, 23 and 26, so they're going to still be quite young to come out. But if they haven't got any children, they ain't having children at that age. Do you know what I mean? They ain't getting a mortgage at that age. They ain't getting nothing. Mm. Maybe they're thinking about that. Maybe they're not. But all I know is I can't do nothing without, you know, because I've signed this affidavit and I can't do nothing. And whilst I'm doing that, the only thing I can do is to make sure that my brother's life wasn't in vain and he didn't die for nothing. And with that, I tend to carry on with the podcast and creating a legacy on behalf of my brother and to help try and cure myself whilst helping other people. So I will continue spreading the message. And like I say, like, watch a show for years. I seen, you know, I was watching it from a different angle when I used to watch it, and I used to be like, oh man, I want to be like some of these people. Now I think to myself, if I can feel like this, I know the people that you podcast and other people podcast, yeah, they've also got that feeling in them. Just because no one's come at them with it, they ain't getting it out. And I do podcasts with people, tough men, you know, Razor and like all of these guys that are really well respected, you know, Kevin Lane, all these guys that are really well respected in the criminal fraternity, all say, I wish we never done any of it. I wish like if I could do it all over again, I would, and I wouldn't have gone down the criminal route. These are the messages that I'm getting out of these people, even though they've got a story that you guys can elaborate on and just get this, like that was their life. I do the same people, but I get a different side of it out. So it's almost like therapy, like you said at the beginning, you know, and you know, I get a lot of enjoyment out of it and pain.
So how did you get into it?
I got to a point where I didn't know what to do and I didn't want to forget my brother. Can we just go back a second? After the trial, and what was life like for you and your family?
It was hard, mate. It was hard. When you lose someone and you're going to trial, you're busy. You know, I've got newspapers I'm dealing with. I've got, you know, the BBC ringing me up. I've got just so much stuff. I've got people like, oh, I heard about your brother. I'm trying to deal with all this. So I've got flowers turning up at the shop. Can you give them to your mum? I'm trying to hide them from my mum. I'm trying to, you know, make sure she's okay. So for me, I was very, very busy, but I preferred to be busy. So I didn't have chance to stop because, like I say, even still now, I haven't stopped, you know, and I don't think I will let myself stop. So I've got to carry on with this. But my mum spends most of the time in bed. She goes to bed at 5 o'clock. She pops tablets and she's like out for the count. Mum used to ring me up and she used to ring me up and say, all right, son, I'm now going to bed. All right, I'll see you in the morning. I'm like, all right, mum, see you in the morning. Love you. Bye. She's like, yeah. And then she'll ring me up in the morning. All right. But now I've had to tell my mum to stop calling me at night time. Do not call me at night time anymore, mum. Because when she rings up, she's like, all right, all right. And I'm like, Mum, have you had your tablets? She's like, yeah, I was saying, and I'm there looking at her and I'm thinking, if you die tonight, this is my last memory. And I already had that last memory of telling my brother I don't want nothing to do with him anymore. I don't need that memory of my mum being jacked up off her tits, like, you know, blurring, and she's like rolling her eyes like a junkie. My mum's a junkie now on prescription drugs. So now I can't say goodnight to my mum anymore. I don't have that luxury anymore. I just got to hope that she rings me in the morning, because I don't ring her in the morning because I want her to have a purpose to get up in the morning. I must ring my son, see how he is. I don't want to wake her up and then she's like halfway through her sleep and she's like, yeah, I'm still in bed. I'm like, all right, I'll see you later. And she won't ring me for the rest of the day, so she won't get out of bed. So I have to let her ring me, and I think to myself, when I see it come up, Mum, I'm like, yeah, she's made it for another night. Yeah.
That's really tough.
It's deep. Mm. And this is what 14 seconds of violence caused. 14 seconds of violence has caused so much trauma. It's unreal.
Wow.
So the therapeutic journey then was the podcast.
It was, I set up a charity. I have a fully legal charity now. I set that up on behalf of my brother. It's called the Be Lucky Anti-Crime Foundation. We go out and we do events. We set up, we get phone calls from council and people, and we go out to troubled areas and set up little events. And one of the ones we done last year, which we're doing again this year, was in an area where crime has dropped by 15% because of what we did. And it's absolutely amazing. So there was a basketball court that was just damaged from kids. We ended up getting a graffiti artist. We graffitied up all of the basketball court. We run alongside another charity that does mental health, and they put on an event and they wanted us to become part of it, and we done a basketball tournament. And with the basketball tournament, we ended up getting coppers to come down and play the Crims. So it was Cops v Crims, and just to help build the relationship back with each other, instead of just being like, you know, what are you looking at? Why are you here? Get away, feds, you know. And now they're like, wait until next year, we're going to do you on the court. And it's really has like really improved that area that we've managed to do it. So we're doing it again this year, August 21st, which is on a Sunday, which is good. So we're going to do it again. It's going to be absolutely massive. And the kids are all like, let us know when you're doing it again. So it's really, and we're pulling kids from estates that don't normally mingle because they're not allowed on each other's estates. And we're pulling them all in, and they're all down there. No crime. There was 1,000 people down there that day. Wow. Never been seen before on that court, and not one bit of crime.
Wow.
Not one bit of crime.
That's amazing.
We've done that. My mum shaved her hair off.
What?
My mum shaved her hair off to raise money for the charity, which we end up, we're now on our 7th bleed kit. So we've got stab kits. You know, when you see defibrillators in metal boxes on the side of, we've got stab kits. So we're putting them around the town.
What is in a stab kit?
Everything that you could do. So you've got a tourniquet kit. You've got stuff in there where you can put it on and it foams up and stops the bleeding. You've got, so like, do you know when you take your belt off and you wrap it around, it's got all of that like in there. It's got a blanket in there, so if they drop down the temperature, it's got like these round bandages. If the cut's really big, you can push it in there and then it like opens up to try and stop bleeding. But these are the kits that we got. They're £550 each kit. And we've managed to do 7 so far, and we're getting local businesses to buy one, and then they get advertised on the business, and we're getting them around, and the businesses are they're really all getting involved. We've got one on each estate, which we're going to be putting in as soon as they turn up. We're going to have 4 in the town centre, because, you know, a lot of people, they tend to die because no one knows what to do, or they don't have nothing around. And because of that, we're putting stuff in place to make sure that no one else dies because of it.
You're going to save a lot of lives.
Hopefully.
Yeah, podcasting.
Yeah. I had to find out therapy, and the only way I could do it was talking to myself on camera. And I did that. And that really helped me massively. It really helped me massively. But at the same time, it destroyed me, because people that have recognise who I am in the street, they recognise me through pain and not success, you know. But like, I'm okay, because if my pain has made them think. And the big thing as well is, like, do you know how many kitchen knives you've got in your drawer?
5.
You think?
I think.
You think? Yeah. Can you imagine it?
What, like the proper blades?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.
5. There's so many people out there that don't know how many knives they have in their kitchen. And, some go missing. They go, we'll just buy some new ones or just ignore it. Know that knife's gone. If you've got a kid that's active, or of that age, that knife has not gone missing. It's been took to cause damage, and, this is where we try and raise awareness just in households with parents, if they're not sure what to look for. And one of the things is make sure you count your knives because you don't know how many you got in your kitchen. Because that's a good indication, because most of the stabbings that are happening from kitchen knives.
Of course.
Paul, this is one of the most powerful stories we've ever heard, and I'm sure the people watching are, some of them perhaps are carrying knives or knife crimes affect them somehow. What do you want to tell the viewers that have been on this journey with us today?
I just want to, you don't realise that you'll ever become a victim. And that's the problem. And you don't realise the pain that you're causing people until you become a victim. Just don't wait to be a victim and lose someone you truly love before you start making a change with what you're doing. Because if you feel like that 2 seconds of power is going to give you the rep that you feel like you deserve, no, it's not going to be relevant, because you're going to be in jail, and your rep won't even mean nothing, because there's people in there you'll be sharing with that had this 10 times worse than you, and that's going to be your life, where you just put down a knife, count your kitchen knives in your kitchen, just talk to your kids, try and raise awareness as much as you can, and just don't live the lifestyle, because I promise you, when you get to a certain age, you're going to regret everything, because I do.
Yeah.
Yes, don't get gangsteritis, just stay on a positive track, and all of Paul's links are going to be below in the description box. So where can people find you and support you and follow you?
Paul Stansby podcast. That's right the way throughout all of the social media platforms, Twitter, TikTok. We just set up TikTok. I'm not very good at this technology stuff. Jamie deals with a lot of stuff. I've like the Instagram stuff I deal with, and just the YouTube, we get on that. But Jamie's my guy for all that. But it's TikTok, Facebook, literally all of the platforms we're on. So Paul Stansby podcast.
Brilliant, man. Give us a hug.
Give us a hug. That was amazing. Sorry, mics everywhere.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Oh, that was...
Yeah. So, we've been brilliant, man.
That was brilliant.
Yeah. The spirit of your brother is in the room. Definitely.
Yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Gadfly Press. We are proud to announce the publication of Britain's #1 art forger, Max Brandrett, The Life of a Cheeky Faker. And from the back cover blurb, Max the Forger is an artist and gentleman whose colourful lifestyle has spanned over 70 years. He has lived under the strict regime of Bernardo's children's homes, been an elephant handler in the circus, lived rough, busked his way from Brighton to Bombay, sold his fakes up and down the country, dined with dukes, socialised with celebrities, associated with gangsters, served time in prison, and donated tens of thousands to charity. And through it all, he has never stopped smiling and loving life and missing his mum. Quote from the book. Mr. Brandrett, I do not see you as a malicious criminal, sighed the judge. But why, oh why, do you continue to use your God-given talent in this way? I just can't help myself, Your Honour. It's like an addiction, I grinned. Available worldwide on Amazon, link in the description box below this video. Thank you for supporting our sponsor.
Here at Boomer & Jen, we offer a wide range of organic or recycled clothing. We all know our planet is important. We only have this one, so it's vital that we all work together to slow down and reverse the changes to the environment. Whilst we all know that big industry are having a significant effect on pollution, here at Boomer & Jen, we believe that if we all make small changes, we can do our part. Fast fashion causes detrimental effects to the planet. Not only is nearly 20% of global wastewater produced by the fast fashion industry, but there is a considerable amount of fast fashion ending up in landfill. So let's move away from fast fashion items that are only worn once or twice and start wearing extremely comfortable, durable and environmentally friendly clothing and ethical jewellery. Boomer and Jen was founded in a quiet town in Devon in 2018. It has now gone from strength to strength as the world is becoming more aware of the current climate situation, helping our customers to buy sustainable, quality clothing. All of our products are fair trade and registered with the Global Organic Textiles Standard Association. Check us out on organiccottonclothing.co.uk.